Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about two races. First the Scheldeprijs, and after that I'm going to talk about the third stage of Itzulia, which were both today. So yeah, Scheldeprijs, another cobbled one-day race in Belgium, but probably the most flat of them all, and almost all the time ends in a bunch sprint finish. But sometimes there's a little bit more action, because if you have crosswinds, and then there are also the cobblestones where some riders tumble and sometimes even get badly injured. That was not the case today, at least not for the favorites, if I remember correctly. But yeah, let's get into the action. It started with about 80 kilometers from the finish line, where Bora Hansgrohe and the Koenig Quickstep upped the pace in the crosswinds, and they created a gap of around 35 to 40 riders. And that group extended their lead to the rest of the peloton to about a minute for a while. And then, with around 60 kilometers to go, we had a few crashes. The favorites among them, Ackermann and Fabio Jakobsen, both had to change their bikes. And because the group then slowed down, actually two riders attacked, which were Kenneth van Bilzen and Dries de Bond. So these two riders then created a gap, and after that the group of Bora and de Koenig slowed down, even took P breaks, and then were caught by the peloton again. So that was really strange to see. They just completely stopped riding and let them get reeled in and basically wait for a bunch finish. Especially Quickstep did almost none of the work, even though they had the previous year's winner of Fabio Jakobsen, who is a really fast guy. Some people even say he could already be a rival to Dylan Groenewegen or Fernando Gaviria, and that he is already faster than his teammate Elia Viviani. I know about that, but he is certainly a huge talent, and he's only 22, won the Scheldeprijs 2 times already, and I hope that later in the year he gets his first Grand Tour, that he can start at the Vuelta, where the sprinter competition most of the time is not as high, so maybe he can sweep a few wins there, get his confidence up. He is definitely a rider to watch in the future in the sprinting world. But yeah, back to the race. So these two riders were on the front, and the peloton gained in size. Nothing much happened. And then, with about 10-11 kilometers to go, we had another pile-up in the peloton. This time Marcel Kittel was among them, and at exactly that moment two riders attacked, which were Edvald Boasson-Hagen and Lionel Tamino. I don't know if I got that name right, but yeah, these two attacked. Shortly after that, Tamino got dropped, so it was Edvald Boasson-Hagen on his own against the peloton. Then it was actually de Koenig who got to the front together with Bora, reeled him in, and then in the lead-out, Bora seemed to have won the lead-out. After the last corner, they beat Michael Morkov, who could not follow Florian Seneschal for de Koenig, but it was Morkov who then boxed in Ackermann to open a gap for Fabio Jakobsen in the sprint, who won that sprint comfortably. Like I said before, he is a really fast guy, and the competition today was never really up to his level. Yes, Ackermann was boxed in, but everyone else, they just could not follow him. Once he saw a hole, he could get through, because also Jakobsen seemed to be boxed in for a while. But yeah, he got out of that with the help of his teammate and straight to the front, winning the sprint comfortably. And Ackermann did not even finish inside the top 10 after being boxed in. So Bora worked probably the most of all the teams and got nobody inside the top 10. While De Koning today did not ride as much as they usually do on the front. And they got the victory, which was victory number 22 for them already. And the rest of the top 5 were Max Walscheid, Chris Lawless, Hugo Hofstetter and Roy Jans. So you see with those names that they are not really up to par if Jakobsen is really considered already one of the top sprinters in the world. But yeah, he will be happy to have won this race in consecutive years. He's definitely a rider to watch. And now we'll turn the page, quite literally, to Itzulia, where today the weather was a really big part of what will later to happen. But yeah, let's start with the break of the day. In the breakaway we had Ben King of Dimension Data, Bruno Amirali of Groupama FDJ, Tom Scoins of Trek Segafredo, Garkaitz Bravo of Escalo Murias, who was trying to defend his polka dot jersey from the previous day. And then we also had Nicolas Sesla and Jose Fernandez of Burgos. And let me take a moment to appreciate the jerseys of Burgos this year. Those full-on purple jerseys, they look really amazing. If nothing else, they stand out in the peloton. You can't deny that. Questionable if purple and red is a color combination that you would otherwise wear, but they stand out. And for a sponsor of a cycling team, that's all they want to do. They want to be seen on television, they want to stand out, and well, easy enough you can get that being in the breakaway, winning races. But with Burgos this year, even if the peloton is seen from the helicopter cameras, you can see that Burgos is there because they are the only team riding in complete purple. And I just love those jerseys. So yeah, and the last rider in the breakaway was Jose Joaquin Rojas from Movistar. And for most of the day, they had a gap of around 1 minute. Not much, but it did not get lower than that, but also not much higher than that. After the last climb, they had that 1 minute advantage for, I don't know, 40 kilometers or so, and held on to that for quite a while. But yeah, I talked about the weather, and today we had a lot of weather changes. There was rain, sunshine again, and that made that the roads sometimes were still wet, but riders were maybe thinking they were already dry. I don't know. We had quite a few crashes. We had Rohan Dennis who had to abandon the race. Steve Cummings abandoned the race. Then we had crashes of Sepp Kuss and Steph Cross, who was laying for multiple minutes in the fields. And then, right at the end, with about 6 or 5 kilometers to go, we had a huge pile-up where a lot of the favorites were involved. Among them, the two De Koning leaders of Alaphilippe and Mars, both leaders for Team Sky with Kwiatkowski and Geraint Thomas. We also have seen that Castroviejo had a bloody face after that crash. Most of the riders of Team Education First were seen in that pile-up. I don't know if Martinez was among them. So yeah, a lot of favorites lost time today. Before I started recording the video, I saw Mars cross the finish line with about 1.5 minutes he lost today. Alaphilippe was seen holding his wrist, so I don't know if he even can continue or if he can even ride the Ardennes Classics later this month. So that made for a really reduced sprint to the line because so many teams were down trying to help their leaders, and that sprint then to the finish was won quite easily by Max Schachmann. Not to take anything away from him, but I think this could have turned out differently, like we've seen yesterday, if Alaphilippe and Michał Kwiatkowski would have been at the front of the race still. But yeah, really great achievement from Schachmann, winning another stage, extending his lead in the overall. He won the sprint in front of Diego Lisi, Bataglin and Mark Hirschi. I said before that you should keep an eye out for Mark Hirschi. Really interesting prospect. But yeah, back to Schachmann. Schachmann now, because so many of the favorites lost time due to crashes, like I said, Rohan Dennis seems to be out of form, but also crashed out today. Alaphilippe, Mars, Thomas, Kwiatkowski, maybe Martinez. I've seen Dan Martin lose time. All those riders losing time. And yesterday we had the puncture of Yates, who lost more than a minute, and now bonus seconds again at the line for Schachmann. So he now has a comfortable lead, and more favorites crashed out or lost a lot of time. So more and more it looks like he could actually win this bike race. And I've said it multiple occasions to friends of mine when they were arguing that Nibali did not deserve his Tour de France victory back in the day. I always said to them, staying on your bike is also part of the race. And so far, Maximilian Schachmann did exactly that. While a lot of the other pre-race favorites went down, well, they did not stay on their bike. He did. He was always well positioned, always at the front, and that is the reason why he still has his race lead. Not because he needed luck or bad luck from others, but because he rode smart, because he stayed to the front, he stayed out of crashes. Yes, obviously a little bit luck is involved, like Yates with his puncture, that is not his own fault, or if a rider in a pile-up is just held up, even though he did not crash, that's not his own fault, but you could have avoided it with better positioning, and Schachmann did exactly that. So he deserves to be in the lead, and more convincing lead. It seems to grow by the day. It will be interesting to see what he can do in the rest of the week. Until then, I'm out.